Welcome back to On the Record. Tonight we've been giving you a preview of what to expect from the African Union Summit. The clock continues to tick towards the summit getting underway in earnest. Our political contributing editor Vuyo Mvoko caught up with the office of the African Union Chairperson, the African Union Commission Chairperson, Dr Nkosazana Zuma's office to get a sense of all the other items expected to come up in the next couple of days.
Just to give you a quick overview of what is going to happen, we are actually in the midst already of the summit. The Ministers of Foreign Affairs came back today to Addis Ababa from Mekelle, where they had a ministerial retreat, just to discuss about issues of integration, to talk about some of the flagship projects like the Continental Free Trade area, the free movement of goods and people, just getting the AU's capacity ready to be able to deliver Agenda 2063. And before the ministers went for the retreat, we actually had the gender pre-summit, where the women, over 400 women, ministers, civil society, the private sector, came together just to be able to prepare themselves and send a message to the heads of state when they start meeting. Now, beginning tomorrow, the Executive Council is going to meet, and they will be considering the report that would have been prepared by the members of the Permanent Representative Committee that met already for 3 days, and their report will be submitted to the Executive Council. They will discuss it for the next 2 days, 27th, 28th, and on 29th we're going to have various meetings, one of which is, of course, the Peace and Security Council meeting. It's going to meet at the level of heads of state, and 30th, 31st, then we have the summit. Now, in each of these, you have lots of various things that are going to happen. One of the key, which we'll talk about, is on the 31st, we are going to have a special launch to honor those who have contributed so immensely to fight against the Ebola virus disease, which, as you know, we all are able to celebrate today because Ebola has been brought under control, it's been stopped, and it's time for us to be able to honor those who have contributed.
We're talking about business people like Aliko Dangote, Patrice Motsepe, and such people.
You would recall that on the 8th of November, the private sector met here in Addis Ababa, following the call of the AU Commission Chairperson, Her Excellency Dr Zuma, and on the spot they were able to contribute over $30 million in support. So people like those you've already mentioned, and even some of the 855 volunteers who were deployed to Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea will also be highly honored, as well as partners of the African Union.
Let's go then to the theme of the summit itself, human rights, with particular emphasis on the rights of women. As a continent, studies would have been done by now, a lot of reports, experts would have been asked to comment and make some input. As a continent, where do we sit in the area of human rights? On a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, I don't think that the summit is going to really just focus on assessing the scale of where where we sit, whether it's from 1 to 10 or it's from 1 to 100. But the African Union thought that it's important to bring to the fore the issue of human rights here in Africa, as well as a specific focus on women. Now, it's not just going to look about the ordinary civil or political rights which we talk about. It's going to give an opportunity for us to talk about some of the socio-economic rights, the women's basic rights: right to food, right to education, right to health, right to shelter, right to good health. So we'll have an opportunity, but it's very important to state that this summit wouldn't be focusing on the theme per se. It's going to be announced that this is the theme for the year. But the summit proper will allow the AU to look at the activities of 2015. The chairperson's report is of 2015. It's just going to review the activities, the annual report, and then project on in terms of what activities will be carried out. So the theme will come into fore during the July summit, where we're going to have whether the academics will be coming, the civil society, women's group, the youth group, all to talk about human rights with specific focus on women. We are going to look back and celebrate how far we've come. There's been a lot of progress that's been made on the continent. That's when we'll have researchers who come to the fore to say, this is how far we've come, this is what we've done. Particularly when you look at various protocols, the various normative frameworks that exist, we'll have opportunities to be able to, delve into those frameworks and see where we have made progress, celebrate those progress, where we've had challenges, and how we're able to overcome these challenges. So just in perspective, this is how the summit is going to, we're just going to preview 2015, but also put 2016 into perspective.
Well, 2015 was dominated by, among others, the continuing, it would seem, rise of, terror groups like Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram.
You're right, that was also quite a challenge. But if you've just been observing, you've seen that the continent has been able to rise up to the occasion, to be able to really fight against, whether it's Al-Shabaab in East Africa, as we're seeing our forces are doing in Somali forces in Somalia, amidst the challenges that we are facing with, us losing soldiers just a few days ago. We buried a number of Kenyan soldiers who passed on. But you've seen that if we go back to whether it's Nigeria, you've seen that the rate at which we used to have losses has been significantly reduced. Of course, it's still happening. We still have terrorist attacks. Yesterday it was in Cameroon. We still have them in Mali. So the continental organization, the AU, is putting forces together, working with the various national governments to ensure that the scourge of terrorism is really brought under control, so that we are able to take a development agenda into focus and look at some of those things that which we want to do, Agenda 2063, the 10-year implementation plan, the various projects or flagship projects that have been set aside that we have to implement, so that we are able to really create conditions necessary for development and prosperity on our beloved continent.
Situation in Burundi, is that also going to come under?
Of course, the situation of Burundi is going to be discussed at the level of the Peace and Security Council, where the heads of states will be meeting.
Well, there's going to be elections, of course, of the Peace and Security, members of the Peace and Security Council. Just take us through that, not only the significance, but also how that election is going to unfold.
You're quite right. The Executive Council will be meeting beginning tomorrow, and they will be electing members from the 54 member states that's going to be represented in the Peace and Security Council. The Peace and Security Council is made up of 15 members of the entire union, with the 5 regional blocks having representation, 3 from East Africa, 3 from Central Africa, and 3 from Southern Africa, 2 from Northern Africa, and 4 from West Africa. That's the configuration. Now, whosoever is elected, it's very difficult to be able to guess who is going to be elected, but you can imagine that those who are currently sitting, some may have to stay, and some will definitely have to be replaced by other members of the African Union. So we're looking forward to the renewed membership of the Peace and Security Council that has been doing an incredible job in ensuring that peace and stability reigns on our continent.
Well, we'll also be watching closely who will be elected the chairperson of the African Union as Robert Mugabe steps down. And back on home soil,